Lucian has been a solid pick in this fast-paced meta for a while now, but after Riot buffed his already strong early game even more, Lucian just took solo queue by storm. Lucian's dash is an insanely powerful pressure tool, especially during the lane phase, but the downside is its high cooldown and therefore high commitment. Use this tool too often and you might find yourself in a situation where you would desperately need it when it is still on cooldown. However, the early game cooldown reduction this spell got after Lucian's latest buffs makes Lucian substantially more consistent. The best way to punish an early game champion is to simply avoid them until they fall off and you start to outscale. But avoiding Lucian nowadays is anything but an easy task. He can pull the trigger on his all-in combo very consistently, leaving only a small window for the opponent to punish him. Now is the perfect time to stomp some people with Lucian in solo queue, and I will show you exactly how the champion works, as well as optimal rune and item recommendations. But first, a reminder for all of you who are determined to climb to high elo, you have two options. The difficult path, which is learning everything by yourself, and I mean it is possible for sure, plenty of educational League of Legends resources out there, such as my channel here, but implementing all of this knowledge is an entirely different beast. So the way smarter option, if you really want to climb, is private one-on-one coaching, which you can book right now clicking the link in the video description. Getting guidance from a challenger coach showing you exactly what you need to do to break the next elo barrier is by far the best choice if you want actual results. League of Legends is a game of skill, and a competent teacher by your side is the most efficient way of honing pretty much every skill ever since the dawn of time. If you are still unsure, no worries. The first coaching session is completely free, so you literally lose nothing trying it out. But if you are interested, make sure to sign up right now, because the coach's time is limited, of course. First come, first serve. In the video description you will find everything you need and also some links with additional information if you still have any questions. And full disclosure as always, if you purchase any paid lessons after your free session, I do earn a commission as I am an official partner of the Solo Queue Solution coaching company. Anyway, the optimal Lucian rune page you should use every single game is Press the Attack, Presence of Mind, Legend Bloodline and Coup de Grace, with Biscuit Delivery and Magical Footwear secondary. Lucian is probably the champion who has the easiest time triggering Press the Attack in the entire game. His passive gives you 2 extra shots after you cast a spell, which makes getting the 3 shots for Press the Attack such an easy requirement to hit. This keystone by itself greatly increases Lucian's early game all-in power, and even at all stages of the game, whenever you get the dash in, the double auto attack, it's so easy to trigger this keystone even in messy teamfights. But as you know, for your passive to work, or for Lucian as a champion to work in general, you need your spells, you need mana, so Presence of Mind also a no-brainer. It's mainly a late game rune, it will keep you topped off during teamfights, so you don't run out while circling through your spells. Legend Bloodline is another very straightforward choice because, well, Lucian is rather spell-based, he doesn't need attack speed as much as other AD carries, and Legend Bloodline gives him more flexibility in his item build since you typically don't buy lifesteal items and just rely on this minor rune. In the next row, Coup de Grace is also the most aggressive option for the early game you get, and since Lucian is all about snowballing in the early game, it's the best rune there. Also in the mid and late game, this rune still does some work because, well, you want to attack low health targets to finish them off, it's a no-brainer. Now Biscuit Delivery is there for your early game mana because, well, Lucian needs to snowball the lane phase, as you know, and without early game mana you can't pressure during the lane phase. Biscuit Delivery very important in that regard. And the other rune in this tree, Magical Footwear, another no-brainer for AD carries. Again, this rune page is so streamlined, but yeah, Lucian not needing to spend money on his boots means he gets his item power spikes that much earlier. And speaking of items, the standard build you can go for pretty much every game as well, without any repercussions, is Kraken Slayer, Boots of Lucidity, Navori Quickblades, Rapid Fire Cannon, Lord Dominic's Regards and Guardian Angel in this exact order. Kraken Slayer has very much the same synergy with Lucian as Press the Attack. You get the triple auto attack condition met so easily because of your passive again. Gunning down a single target as quickly as possible is really at the core of Lucian's identity, and Kraken Slayer helps with that a lot. Now for your boots option, Lucidity boots are quite straightforward because cooldown reduction is a valuable stat on Lucian, but on Lucian pretty much every kind of boots work. You can go for attack speed boots if you want more of that. It does increase your damage substantially still, or you can go for defensive boots such as Plated Steel Caps or Mercury Treads. However, Lucidity boots are the most common and they are very consistent in most matchups. Now for your mythic item you want Navori Quickblades because of their synergy with Lucian's kit. Not only does this item increase your ultimate damage by a ton, also your Q damage for what it's worth, but crucially the cooldown reduction on hit it provides you is quite powerful on this champion. Yes, the E buff is only for the early game, the late game cooldown is the same, but at this point, at just 2 items, your E is up essentially non-stop. Just a couple of auto attacks, E gets an inherent cooldown reduction from its own effect, plus the cooldown reduction from the very quick blades effect. You can just spam your spells like no one else. Now, Rapid Fire Cannon as your next item is commonly chosen to combat Lucian's pretty much only shortcoming of his short range, no pun intended, but it does the job quite well. As every AD carry, you also need a Last Whisper item. Lord Dominic's regards the most natural choice in most matchups, but Mortal Reminder is certainly a noteworthy alternative. Guardian Angel is also a fairly standard last item for AD carries, as the second life it provides can mean the difference between winning and losing the game later on, as death timers are very long at this point. However, Lucian is quite flexible with itemization, as you probably know, and noteworthy alternatives you can also get are Essence Reaver, because it has inherent synergies with your spell-based playstyle, and also Bloodthirster if you want some more lifesteal. But these 6 items you see on the screen right now are, well, pretty much your bread and butter. With that being said, let's now have a close look at how Lucian works in-game with the in-depth analysis. So in the early game, your game plan is pretty clear. Use your early game strength even against other lane phase bullies such as Jhin. All you need to do on Lucian is wait for your support to find an opening, and then you can follow up easily. It's very telegraphed, it's almost like playing a Samira, but instead of getting a free dash whenever a crowd control spell lands, you just get free damage. Of course, some lanes are easier than others because, well, Jhin Vel'Koz are strong early too, so against more late game champions, you'll have a much better time, but even here, you need to really make use of every opportunity. As soon as that hook lands, you dash forward, you get your damage off. Yes, you will take some damage back, but these situations are so favorable for Lucian overall that you really shouldn't second guess yourself. And yes, it can get close at times, but the thing is, Vel'Koz and Jhin, they're not killing you with poke damage if you're smart about it, but the next hook will kill. So this situation overall favorable for Lucian. You need to just jump the gun, pull the trigger every chance you get. To be fair, Nautilus is not able to land a follow-up hook here because, well, the enemy aren't dumb. They're trying to dodge it, trying to anticipate hiding behind minions, but all that health they lost from the fight earlier still sets them up for blue team's jungler. Yes, it looks like they have a good engage here, but Lucian instantly with a counter engage with his dash and Lee Sin with the follow-up, free kill for blue team, all because of that high pressure of the Lucian-Nautilus combo. But this works with most supports really. I mean, I like comparing Lucian to Samira because of how their kits work. You just follow up on whatever your engagers do. But Lucian also works with enchanters, as you know, the good old Lucian-Nami combo, because of his passive. It works with both immobilizing spells from your allies and with enchanter buffs. So keep that in mind, Lucian's way more flexible than Samira in that regard. In any case, Red Team's bot lane is not without counterplay. They do have a jungler themselves, and he is paying them a visit here, which puts a lot of pressure on Lucian plus Nautilus. They need to be careful. Nautilus losing half his HP is quite meaningful, because tanks need their HP as a resource. If they go in and die instantly, it does nothing. However, in this situation, look carefully. We have a Jhin plus Vel'Koz. Jhin with a level advantage, he's level 6, massive wave under tower, Nautilus half HP, but they still need to be just as careful because Lucian operates so quickly. One opening is all he needs, and here is the grab onto the Vel'Koz, who was full HP before, dies in a single rotation. Nautilus can get out before Jhin can do too much, despite level disadvantage. However, this is not an easy or free game for blue team by any means. I don't like to show stomps here because they don't really serve much educational purpose if you just roll all over the enemy, but in this game, as you can see, Yasuo, their top laner, is in a lot of trouble, getting a double stacked minion wave into his tower against the Renekton, and the tilt recall, trying to get farm, dying instantly. And this is pretty much how the lane phase goes for him. He gets completely bullied by the enemy top laner, and I mean, he is trying to get some farm, but ultimately he's just taking very bad trades over and over, getting himself low, trying to fight back admittedly, but ultimately after a very close call, which could have gone either way, there's the jungler. So yeah, Lucian will have to take matters into his own hands if he wants to win this game. No relying on teammates too much, at least not in other lanes. But he is on a good way, as you can see. In the bot lane they got a lot of kills due to Nautilus' setups and Lucian's follow-ups, which got them a gold and item lead, which they can then transition in the mid-game into a tower advantage. Mid lane towers are a big deal because they guard multiple jungle entrances at once. Enemy doesn't have their tower, but you still have, means a big map pressure advantage for your team. In any case, while the 2v2 in lane with Lucian can be quite telegraphed because you know exactly what to do, your support engages, you follow up, In teamfights, well, people kind of struggle on Lucian, but the same principles still apply. Please have a look in this one. So the obvious problem with Lucian in teamfights is that he has short range, which means all of his actions are more committal than those of other AD carries. A Caitlyn, for example, can stand all the way in the back and deal some damage, whereas Lucian needs to be very careful when to commit. Of course, there are the obvious situations when your support or any of your teammates lands a crowd control engage spell. You can easily follow up with your dash. It's very non-committal, a CC'd enemy is not gonna kill you. But also your ultimate is a great asset in fights because it kind of counters your range disadvantage as well. I mean, in this situation we don't really get to see the full display of range on Lucian's ultimate. Instead Renekton tries to hard engage, but here Lucian's low dash cooldown, I mean at this point the buff isn't even at play anymore too much, but Lucian's dash is a very valuable teamfighting tool, and as you can see, the level 12 Renekton, Lucian is able to avoid him by dashing very carefully and deliberately. And of course we had that sick play, hot damn Lucian. But really, as with so many things on Lucian, it just boils down to using your dash correctly. Of course the telegraphed hook into dash, so your support hooks, you dash, is quite easy and straightforward, but I mean, in teamfights like these, yes, you will take a lot of damage because close quarters. Side note, many other AD carries die in situations like these. But if you dash defensively, even in those jungle paths, Lucian can still deal a lot of damage in these skirmishes without going down too quickly. Here, he again guns down the Renekton who is greedy, and yes, he does get assassinated by Shaco, but still did so much in this teamfight that it doesn't matter at this point. However, I suppose Lucian's team, due to all of that success, gets a little, well, too overconfident. They try to start Baron stupidly. Enemies still have a hyper-fed top laner, and also their other, well, their non-bot lanes are quite strong. So, yeah, this is a complete failed attempt. At least Lucian is safe enough to save his life. But the cost for this misplay is still ultimately a completely free Baron buff for the enemy, which is never a good thing, of course. On top of that, blue team tries to get the dragon and gets it stolen, but Lucian just keeps his cool and, well, see for yourself. This positioning looks positively terrifying for most AD carries because Renekton is almost in attacking range, but look how closely Lucian stays to that wall. He's extremely potent near those thin jungle walls, precisely because he can dash right over them as often as he wants to almost, because of the innate cooldown reduction and because of his mythic item. Renekton, I mean, in this situation he's completely outnumbered of course, but Lucian has all the counterplay in the world. He can dash across this wall if he needs to. If Shaco, for example, or any assassin jumps up behind him, he would always have the option to go through this and stay completely safe. He is, well, short-ranged, but ironically, in some situations, safer than long-ranged AD carries. And speaking of long range, we also have the full beauty of Lucian's ultimate crossing the entire screen, assassinating that, well, not assassinating, but gunning down that Shaco from almost full HP. In my opinion, Lucian suits this fast-paced meta extremely well, and due to the buff he is so much more viable right now. It's almost like a wake-up call. People remember how strong Lucian actually is, but I mean there's no denying that the dash buff did make him substantially stronger than before. Anyway, if you want to dominate the lane even harder with Lucian, I have a full AD carry lane phase guide which you can access by clicking the link on your screen.